um, 1 Samuel 17. I just ate a snack. It tastes pretty good too. It was pretty, I think it was healthy, at least I think so. All right. I am in 1 Samuel chapter 17. And I'm going to do sections and try to talk about it. It's 56, I think it's 58 verses, and I'm going to do them. I'm going to summarize it so you can see why do we need this, and then how are we doing the same thing today as human beings as these people did many years ago. They gave me some guidelines. I need to study these guidelines. Welcome to live chat. Okay. Yesterday in chapter 16, which is 17, is an ongoing journey that was getting ready to show you who David is. And David was introduced to Saul yesterday as a musician. And Saul knew, they asked what David's father's name, and they told him his dad's name was Jesse. And he asked Jesse if David could stay with him, because he said, I like this little guy. And David, daddy, Jesse, agreed to let David stay with Saul. And David, when the evil spirit came upon Saul, David knew what to do. He played the harp. So one thing that David could do, he knew how to make the devil exit out of Saul. And he was skilled at what he did, what he played with his hand. So then we move into what's going on after the introduction of David to Saul. The Philistines gathered together, and God gave us in verse 1 the area where they were gathered. And the Philistines were on one side of that area on a mountain, and Israel was on the other side, and there was a valley in between. And this big, tall guy dressed like a ornament tree, 9 feet tall, basically what I've learned. And he had brass on his head, he had brass on his legs, he had brass on his back, he had a coat of brass. He was just looking like he was just there for decoration based on my view. But he was, and his name is Goliath, and he was a giant. And he was dressed like he was intimidating. His clothes, his outfit was very intimidating to a whole entire army. So his army was glad that he was who he was, representing them, while he defied the God of Israel. And he said things and wanted to do things to Israel because of Israel's God. They're not mad at the people of Israel. They're mad at the God of Israel. And they use Goliath as an emblem of fear. And it worked for most of them. And so one day David decided to go home to take care of the sheep. He left Saul's house and he went back to his dad's house. And his purpose was to go back there and take care of those sheep. And while he was there, his father said, I need you to take some food to your brothers. And if they need anything, let me know how they're doing. And if they need anything, when you get back, let me know. Let me know their pledge. And so the next morning, David was prepared to go to carry out what his father told him to do. While he was on his way, Israel had got somewhere down and began to fight the Philistines. It seems as if Goliath took a break, and then the two Saul and his army fought with the Philistine. Then when Goliath came back, then the Philistines, Israel ran. And then when David got there, and he was looking at this guy like, what is that he got on? What's going on with all that? He was like, what's going on here? And so they were talking about whoever beat down Goliath would get riches, would get Saul's daughter, and the father of the person who kills him will be live freely, will live in a free house. I believe that means he would not be paying taxes. And so they were discussing that, and David came up there and he looking at this guy like a curious young child, like, what's all of this? And so once David's brother, the oldest brother, came down and saw David asking questions, and he said, what you doing out here? Who told you to come here? He said, you up here because you are naughty. You up here because you are, let's see what his big brother, now this is his oldest brother, talking to him like that. And he said, why did you come down here, verse 28, and leave those few sheep in the wilderness? Trying to make him feel bad, trying to make David feel like he, okay, they say, I know your pride and the naughtiness of your heart, for you come down here so that you might see the battle lie. And David responded back to his brother and said, what have I done now? In other words, why are you always talking to me like that? He said, is it not for a cause? You know I don't do anything, just be doing it. And the brother didn't say nothing else after that. And so David said, since I can't get nothing out of you, I'm turning this other guy and asked him, said, what's he said, tell me, who is this guy? Who is this big old man out there, tall guy like that? What are he doing? And they said the same thing, who Goliath was. And then David, what did David said, and somebody went back and told Saul David was out there asking questions. I always remember when you talking about somebody in leadership, somebody gonna go tell it. And Saul said, tell David to come here. So David came to Saul's office, and Saul said, and when the words were heard about what David said, they rehearsed them before Saul, and Saul sent for him. And David said to Saul, nobody has to be afraid of this big old guy with all that heavy stuff on. And then Saul said to David, he said, that man is a warrior, and he been learning to fight since he was your age. He's a grown man now. And David said, I got experience. He said, one time a bear and a lion came in to where I was caring for the sheep. And I went out there and fought that bear and that lion and took that sheep out of the mouth of that lion by his beard. And then I killed the lion and the bear. David said, I know how to do this kind of stuff. I'm more than a musician now. And so then Saul said, okay, go ahead. Go fight. He said, but let me let you wear my stuff. So he put on his garment of what he wear, and he decorated David's body with his coat and gave David a helmet. And David assayed means, let me test this stuff because I ain't never fought with all this stuff on there. He said, I can't fight like this. I can't fight like this. I don't know how that big old guy that fight with all this stuff on. And then the word said he took his rod and he went and got 5 smooth stones, put them in his little old bag, and he had his, little stuff. What did he say he had? And Saul armed David with his armor and put a helmet of brass upon his head, and also armed him with a coat of mail. So he's trying to make him heavy. And David girded that sword upon his armor, and he said, I got to, I got, and David said to Saul, I can't go with this on, for I have not proved them. I've never fought like that before. And David pulled that stuff off. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even his scrip, which is saying the bag is a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. He said, I'm going out that way. He's scared of him. And when the Philistine, when Goliath saw David come toward him, he said, who you came out here to play with a dog? What you got that little stick for? What was it? You coming toward me with a stick like you got a dog? Am I a dog? And when the Philistine looked about and saw him, he was shocked. He was like, you ain't nothing but a little boy. And the Philistine said to David, am I a dog? You come to me with staves. And the Philistine cursed David by his God. David said, you're doing too much. And the Philistine said to David, come to me I'm going to give your flesh to the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. When I get through with you, you're going to be meat. Then said David to the Philistine, you come to me with a sword. David said, you come to me with a sword and a spear. I come to you in the name of the word of God. I came to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. You got a lot of stuff. I'm coming to you with a word from the Lord. The one you talking about. He said, today the Lord would deliver you into my hands, and I will smite you. Just like you said, you're going to feed me to the birds. That's what I'm getting ready to do to you. And everybody going to know that the Lord saved this, not me. I'll be the one he used, but him with all the power. For this battle belongs to God. Anybody talk about God is God's battle. And he would give you into our hands. Now Saul said, if you beat me, we're going to serve you. But if we beat you, you're going to be our slave. You're going to be our servants. And it came to pass when the Philistine, oh God, this thing is technology, come on. When the Philistine arose, when Saul got up and came and drew near to meet David, that David ran, hurry up and ran. He didn't run from him, he ran toward him to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in the bag and took out a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in the forehead. And that rock sunk into his forehead and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. So David ran and stood up on Goliath, took his sword, drew it out, and slew him, cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw that the champion was dead, they ran. They weren't supposed to run. Because the deal was, if you kill me, then all of us going to bow down to you. We become yours. But he was lying. And so they took off after they saw Goliath dead. They thought their champion, that's what they called him, was a champion, but the champion was defeated by a little boy. And the men of Israel, and they said David was not yet 20, based on the fact that he was not with the army, because you had to be 20 and above. But evidently he was younger because his brother was wanting to know why you out here. And the men of Israel, y'all, I'm so sorry. This technology is just, I love it, but it's inconvenient sometimes. And the children of Israel ran after the Philistines once they got rid of, God removed Goliath. And then the children of Israel, who were once afraid, ran after the Philistines, and they started fighting those and killed a lot of those people. Then said David to the Philistine, you come to me with a sword and a spear with a shield, but I came to you in the name of the Lord. I did that part. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David. I read that part. So David prevailed. I read that part. Therefore I read that part. And the men of Israel and Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until you come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. So they had this spot where they killed a lot of people. And the wounded of the Philistine fell down by the way to all those people that Israel were killing had a particular place they fell dead. And God gave that in verse 52, that area. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistine and went to their tent and got their stuff. All that valuable things they had, Israel took it. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem. But he put the armor in his tent. He said, I'll take what he had and keep it. And when Saul saw David, Saul looking at all this, and he said to his cousin Abner, his uncle's son, he said, who that boy? Abner said, I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know who that boy is. It's the same boy that was in your area playing that harp. But now you see him in a bigger light. You're not putting the two together. Because God can say, I can send you somebody that can play an organ or a harp, and he also can fight. There's more to me than playing a harp. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and said, I need to take you to Saul. Saul want to see you. And Saul said to him, whose son are you? Who your dad? That's an interesting question. When we see a young man doing the right thing, a lot of time the question is, who your dad? Because you something else. And David, being the same person that was playing the harp, said to Saul, respectfully, he said, I'm the son of your servant Jesse the Bethlehemite. He could have said to Saul, what's wrong with you? I'm the same man that played the harp. Where my harp at? He didn't do that. He stayed respectful to Saul and said, my dad is Jesse. And that's the last verse. So what did I take from learning 1 Samuel 17? The first person that I took was a grown man called a champion whose name was Goliath, standing in front of a group of people that said they know God, but they were scared by this guy. So who would I bring him off the page today? I would call him the internet. You come out and you say things, and then you have people running, making decisions. Because somebody on the internet posts something that got people scared, and therefore they moved in the direction thinking that they are representing the good of the people. Anytime there's confusion like this, God is not in it. So he leaves that to yourself. So we got to stop, for what I've seen people do. You have a right not to shop. But you at least need to know why you're not shopping. Why? What's going on? Because what you're doing is not hurting only the person that you think you're hurting. You're hurting other people too. And God is like, I ain't never authorized nobody to do that. I see that as the Philistine. And I do see the problem that Black people being the main people that I've seen making a lot of noise. I don't know everything. I just know what I know in my little section of the earth. But I don't want to be like the black man started running and everybody took off and ran and don't know what's going on. But when I saw this morning a group of people taking stuff back or took things back to Target, it looked like it had been worn, looked like it was no good. And they had baskets and baskets of things that had been returned. And I began to pray. And I wrote, it said, wrong does not make right. The people of God should not be doing that. Now, if you're not the people of God, then you can do anything. But God's people ought to be speaking up, because the word says if you don't say anything, you're part of it. Excuse me. So that's how I saw us go live. The internet is training us to be fearful and to take action over something that God said, all I got to do is speak the word, and I could have knocked that down. But you want to take matters into your own hand. He said, I'm not in it. If I'm not in it, you're a loser. And I'm not going to destroy everybody, but I will destroy those of you who I know are guilty of doing what I saw you do. Another thing that I learned is that David was very respectful. He was there to he left Saul to go back and take care of the sheep. He listened to the instructions of his father and took food to the army. And he asked questions before he decided to take it upon himself to make a decision like that Saul, or Goliath. He said, "Who is that?" And they told him. And he said, "What happens to the person that does this?" And they gave him the instructions. And he went for permission to knock the guy down. And then when he couldn't wear something that would make him stand out, he said, "I don't need all that. It's too heavy for me. I can't prove that this stuff gonna let me do what I know I can do. I'm good with a slingshot," because he told the truth about what happened to a bear and a lion. And not only did he say what he could do, he did it. And then when Saul called him, he could have insulted Saul by saying, "I don't understand why you don't know who I am." He didn't. He respected him. He respected his elders by responding to their question. And that's how that story ends. So we can see ourselves today. And what I pray is that I'm praying basically that we get educated in the Word of God. So we'll know how to act and think that God never told us to fight his battle, because the battle is not yours. The battle, everything that's against God has always been against God. And you just happen to represent people that remind other people that don't know God. You remind them of God. So they sometimes miss, you've been put down. And our black people been put down for so long until it's almost customary to just be like the, who was it God destroyed yesterday? Amalekites. Amalekites has always picked on certain people. And the Lord was tired of them and he got rid of them. Not that we want God to get rid of anybody, but anybody don't want to hear God, you will be dealt with. But he said, but if you try to fight the Amalekites without my permission, he said, look at my hand, they up. I'm not helping. But if you'll let me be your God by getting into my word, then you won't have to fight so hard. Just as sure as you have made a difference in this earth when you get tired of stuff, you see how much energy that you don't participate in, what an effect that it will have on the earth. If I get y'all to live right, and I'm talking to black people, because where I get confused as a human being black, is that we only seem to come together when we're fighting a system. But what bothers me is that we fight each other every day. But when we get some publicity, then we seem to act like we unified. God knows the difference. And I pray that the pastors that's entertaining people, that you educate people so they'll know how to behave themselves anytime they are not being done right. And it is true that we are not people that have been treated fairly. But God said, I got that. I just need you to just let them see that I am your God. Because I don't like what I see. The word says that if army men, Israel went to war, and they had to go defecate, he said, take a spade with you. And when you do release your body, make sure you dig a hole and then you close it back up when you finish. He said, because if I come in and I find out there's anything on the ground that should have been covered, he said, I'm walking out. You're going to fight that war yourself. And I said that because simple things like going I'm in the gym today. And many times grown men, sometimes women, but men, they leave their evidence that they've been in the bathroom and don't care who comes behind it. God said, I wrote it. I know who did it. So I think if we really want to make a change, we got to do a change in our own community. Because it doesn't make sense I've never got it. I've never understood it. But I guess it's just noise. As long as you can know we did some on the internet. But at nighttime, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you riding down stuff, waking the whole neighborhood up, helicopters and all that kind of stuff. I said, it's not right. It's not fair. We gotta stop trying to fool somebody. We gotta be for real, for real. We are some loving people. That if anybody was to put who are the most loving people on earth, it would be the black people. The nurturing of the earth. That's in us. But we are the helpers of the earth. We don't hold grudges long. Some of us do, don't get me wrong. But by nature of a culture, I've never seen black people act like the way I've been treated by white people. And they are both of y'all my brothers. But white people that I know, I would rather live, I don't like living where black people live when they don't act right, but I just know we can do better, but we won't. I'm tired of driving down the street and looking at chicken boxes and chicken wings and mattresses. And I don't know if other people bring it or not, but it's our neighborhood. And the earth belongs to the Lord. He told us to be stewards over this earth. And everywhere we go, we live the same way. We're not known to be the hardest working people on the earth unless we are forced to do it. We got loving ways, but we got to learn some disciplines that God said as a culture, we got to do it as a group of people. And not wait till somebody said, we're going to stop going to this store. And they whoever started that, I do not know who online started that. But we all took off running. And half of us don't know where we're running from or to. So I think that's Goliath. And he got to come down. You want to make a difference, you got to be different before we become different. We got to be different. We got to stop making a lot of noise. God ain't, let me tell you something. Anybody tell you don't read the word because it's a white man? No. What we doing is writing in writing. And I don't know who's going to read about it one day, but somebody is probably not going to believe that really happened. Because it's got to be too crazy that a group of people wrote that or did that. God is God. And he said, I told you, after Adam, I had Noah and his 3 sons. I said, repopulate the earth, and they did. And here we are. And we look at each other like we're not related. That's the sad part. You don't even believe God to be God over there. You're fighting your brother just like Cain, and your brother's fighting you. Oh yeah, people are hated. They're not just hated. Black, white people are hated. Black people are just hated. And God is saying, I mean for y'all to stop. And it starts in the house of God. If you can find a house of God. Because somebody should have seen this coming and told us the word of the Lord said there's something coming in this land. Black people don't get into that. But we ain't got nobody speaking up. We got somebody just trying to see what we're going to get out of you today. And fathering all these children in these churches. And getting online saying all kind of crazy stuff. And talking about a lady ought to be able to just jump up and run around the church. No, you done the words is sit yourself down and shut your mouth up doing all that crazy hollering. I'm paraphrasing. You know, if the pastor of the church told you to be quiet, your spirit should have subject to that thing. Because first of all, I can tell you to be quiet, and I'm saying you out of order. I don't care how many preachers say, sorry, that you got to release yourself. Find it in the scripture. Everybody I know did that had the devil in them. You can't come into my classroom feeling like something jumped on you and you had to take over and act like you crazy. We're going to put you in that crazy room. They got a crazy room at school. I ain't never seen nobody do it. You got kids that got some problems, But that would be just crazy if you think I'm finna run. You ain't gonna do that. How God just gonna wait till you get to church? Go in Walmart and do it. Why do people keep on shopping? Ain't nobody gonna be thinking about you. But you get attention at the church because that's where you can get away with it. And then when you get famous preachers solidifying it, saying that it's you can't control God. He said he don't read. He said you ain't never seen Jesus act like that. Everything that came out of Jesus, he did, and it wasn't in the synagogue most of the time. It could have been in there, but because when he first got here, they had all them folk. A lot of them people had the devil in them, and he cast them devils out them folk. And then he said, "Don't start this religious stuff no more. Read the word, find out how to act." He said, "You come in my house, keep your feet and keep your mouth, and hear the word of the Lord." But we made it another black people. We the only somebody I know that do that. And we got to stop because we're better than that. We're more educated than that. We got more sense than that. And then you got another group of people who feel like they get, we mess in every color, in every shade, every color. I just know black people because those are the people that I live around. But it's a mess everywhere. It's a mess because you looking at, yep, it's true that we do, black people as a whole do some wild stuff. You do too. Disrespectful men on here. And I ain't no dude, McClown, but I don't want to give you no attention. You call me what you want. Anyway, hey, Tiffany. But, anyway, I don't want to say nothing to you. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Comments like that. You got to answer to God for that. Let me leave you alone because you ain't going to change. You find all kind of people. Anyway, the best thing to do is read the word for yourself, get an understanding, leave religion out of it. What you wear and all that stuff, just read it and see what the word says. You had David, Goliath, Saul, the army, Abner, who was Saul's cousin. And I think that's all that was in that chapter. David, Jesse was talked about. The servant that walked before Goliath and the guy that kept the sheep while David came to take care of what his father sent him out to do, and the guy that had the carriage. Those are the people that I remember from that chapter. And none of it is a fight. None of it has anything to do with religion. It's just people, just human beings doing something that was needed to be done or not doing something that needed to be done. All right, I pray for you, the person that's rude. I'm almost don't like, I can't make this guy not make me want to come to YouTube. I'm going to stop doing live because I don't want to get out of character. I'm just going to post, and if you want to see it, you see it, you want to post it, then I'll report you enough until they take you off the internet. That's what I think I'm going to do, is try to find a way, and then you'll be trying to find another way to hide your... He don't have his face on here. That's what they do. Dressed up like... Let me get off here. Because YouTube, not YouTube, but people seem to do a lot of things on YouTube from all over the world. And I know this probably not... It might be in the United States, and I don't know who it is. All I know is I ain't got time for it. Lord, forgive me for even paying that any attention. I'm sorry, Lord. I'm sorry, young man. I don't mean to be rude to you. Sorry. I hope you change.